Hello, welcome to the program. Last night we revealed new evidence which raises more questions about the conviction of Henry Keogh. Evidence that was never put to the jury, including claims of the existence of photographs which had previously been denied. Now, this revelation came from the forensic pathologist who worked on the case, Dr. Colin Manock, although why he's remained silent about this until now has not been explained. And as a result of our story, a photo lab operator contacted us to say he remembers developing the prints. Graham Archer has yet another intriguing chapter in this ongoing saga.
To the best of my recollection, the photos that we processed on that day were photos of the autopsy photos of, to me it was Anna Jane Chaney.
We can't complete the inquiry ourselves. We will now have to refer it to the police.
Last night, we revealed the existence of new evidence which further demands an urgent review of the material made available to the defence in the Keogh case.
For the first time, we really have fresh evidence, or potential fresh evidence, which can enable Henry Keogh's case to be sent on to a court of criminal appeal.
First is the calculation that the bathwater was not deep enough to drown a person using the method put to the jury by the prosecution.
Considering that level, would it have been possible, by the prosecution's theory, to drown a woman like Anna Jane Chaney of that size in that amount of water?
If the head is kept straight, facing upwards, certainly not, because the distance from the back of the head to the base of the nose is approximately 20 centimetres.
Next, there were changes to Anna Jane Chaney's face at the scene of death, which were so pronounced that they have removed vital clues to the cause and circumstances of the death.
Given the time frame, is that a change that could possibly occur naturally?
I would think it's impossible in such a short period of time for a natural change to occur and for the swelling to simply somehow go away. It had to be removed by an action of a person.
So it would require human intervention within that time frame to change her appearance from this to this?
As an anatomist, I would say yes, it would be.
But then, after years of denials, the forensic pathologist Dr. Colin Manock now says that colour photographs were taken of the autopsy which have never been disclosed.
The fact is, we were never told about the existence of those photographs until now. That means withholding, well then they've been withheld.
We don't know what happened to them, but it adds another layer of intrigue to this case. And now, there's more.
The very photographs that we were talking about were the photographs that you think you processed?
I'm sure, I'm almost certain, certainly sure that they were, and they were colour films, because the machine that we were using was a colour processing machine.
Alan Logue runs the Hub Photo Centre in Hutt Street, and after seeing our program, rang us to tell us his recollections of contacting the forensic photographer in the hope of selling a mini processing lab for Kodak. As a demonstration, the photographer brought in 2 rolls of film.
You're absolutely sure, as you can be, that we're talking about that set of photographs at that time? We're talking 1994.
As sure as I can be, that was about the time when we were selling those machines, and so that the date lines up. And as I said, I'm still certain in my own mind that the photos that I saw were of Anna Jane Chaney.
What did you see from those photographs?
The thing that probably stuck with me the most was what I remember being handprints on her ankles.
So there were hand grips on the ankles?
I'm sure they were on both ankles in the photos, yes.
And can you show me how the grip mark that you think
the grip mark basically looked like that. You could actually see the bruises from 4 fingers, I believe, on the top of the ankle, and the bruise from a thumb mark, I believe, underneath on the bottom of the ankle. So it was consistent with the legs being held up.
What you're describing doesn't actually accord with the prosecution case about the position of the bruises.
Whether they were on top or underneath, they were still colour. They weren't black and white. So I still think they were underneath, but I'm prepared to say that that may be not correct. But I certainly know that the films that we processed were colour, which I guess says there were colour photos taken of the autopsy, which seems to conflict with what's being said.
There's no doubt there were bruises on the legs, but all this does is further illustrate what was wrong with this case from the start. The failure to follow procedures in collecting evidence and keeping records. As the director of the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine, Professor Cordner, says,
it should be reproducible or traceable, all the various steps of what was done and when.
Clearly, that's not the case. The example of taking just one tiny tissue sample from the lungs to support a conclusion of death by drowning led pathologist Dr. Byron Collins to question the evidence of such a diagnosis. Just a few days ago, Dr. Manock countered with this bizarre response.
To compare a reference to a small microscope slide to a comment of the man who has held the lungs in his hands and has been able to weigh them and assert that they were heavy with water or oedema is simply absurd.
In effect, he's scoffing at the superficiality of his own samples. What's required is a scientist and not a dramatist, one who provides enough data to allow the proper analysis of evidence. Justice might be blind, but our faith in it in South Australia can't afford such a luxury.
The best way to test this is for us to see all of the photographs, including all of the negatives. When I say us, I mean all of the lawyers involved, both for all sides. And then we can all see for ourselves what exists and what does not exist.
Indeed.